I'm here with Jack Bergey, one of the 10 candidates for the upcoming Vail Town Council election. Hello, Jack. Thank you for taking the time to meet us out here.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
It is our pleasure to have you here at High Five Access Media. So, first question. Briefly tell us about yourself.
Okay. I moved to Colorado back in '75 to be a ski bum, like many people in the Vail Valley. And my first night in Colorado was in the back seat of my '63 Chevy in Aspen, Colorado. And for the next 3 weeks, I spent looking for a job and a place to stay. Finding a job was the easy part. The housing was the tough part. I couldn't find a place in Aspen, so I ended up moving to Denver and getting a nice place to stay in Denver, working. They gave me housing, and I would hitchhike up to go skiing and drive up to go skiing, and worked at Mary Jane the first year they ever opened. And ended up going to Western State College, Western State University now. And when I got there, again, housing was the big issue. And that was back in, '77? And ended up buying, ended up buying a little trailer and graduated from Western State College. Was a ski instructor my first year while going to school. You know, as the saying goes, ski Western State, pick up a degree in your spare time. So I really enjoyed myself there. It was so much fun. And then I ended up graduating, and then it was like, what am I going to do now? So I moved to Denver, went through the whole process of working, bought a house. I'm getting married. In '96, my wife and I at the time, we bought a place in Vail. So my first house in Vail was in 1996. And it was had a rental unit in it, so I was renting to locals just to help make the house payment. And so I've been actually renting to locals since 1996 in the Vail Valley here. And again, housing's been the issue since day one. My first time skiing in Vail was 1975, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, my friend's gonna let me crash on on the floor there." Brought up a sleeping bag, came home from the bar, put my sleeping bag down. The only place was covered with people. The whole floor was covered with people. I was on a cement floor next to the door in the kitchen, and about 2 o'clock in the morning, the door hits me in the head with like 5 other guys with their sleeping bags. And I'm like going, I love this place. Someday I'm gonna have a place here.
Nice. So what made you want to run for council?
Well, ever since, in Denver, I bought a house. There was the problem with the homeowners association. There were a lot of people up in arms about the special assessments, and so I got involved with the homeowners association. And then ever since then, when I bought a house, there was always a homeowners association involved, and there was always some sort of issue, whether we had to sue the developer for construction defects, or there was always some sort of major problem going on, and no one wanted to get involved. It was a thankless job, and so I was stepped up to the plate and tried to solve the problem. And then living here, I finally retired and moved here full-time in 2014. And, the housing, it's been a housing issue, all along. And I just decided through a lot of different things, but something needs to be done. That we need some help up here, and I finally decided to step in and throw my hat in the ring. And
how much time per week have you budgeted for council work?
Oh, that's a good question. I've talked to a few different council people. Some people say it's up to 20 hours a week. I'm retired, and I do have the time and the energy, and I'm ready to put in the time.
Okay. So, when you're running for Vail Town Council, there are just a few opportunities that you have to reach all of the voters. Most of it is one-on-one conversations that you have. But this is one of those opportunities to reach all the voters, as well as the candidate forum coming up. So now that you have that opportunity, why don't you go ahead and give the voters your elevator pitch, or why they should vote for you?
Oh, okay. Well, I'd say number one is going to be, of course, the housing, but that's right hand in hand with fiscal responsibility. The town it's a huge budget, and back in 2000, a good example of that is back in 2009 when I was on the advisory committee for the Chamonix parcel where they built the Chamonix housing townhomes. The committee sent to town council a proposal for 58 units to be built there. Town council approved, recommended the 58 units. Today we end up with 24 units, and they sold one of the lots to a developer for $875,000, and now it's being listed for $1.8 million. There could have been 15, there should have been 20 more units or so on that spot. The use of funds, I think could be better allocated. Spending $17.5 million for a 5-acre parcel for not to have employee housing is not a wise use of public funds.
What are you doing to get your message out there?
Oh, that's a good one. Being here full time since 2014, talking to people. Whenever I go out, dinner, I like to talk to people. I like to go out. I get out a lot. People see me around in town. I'm sure some people have, and every time I have a chance to strike up a conversation. Then there's some. Anyways, that's mainly it. Mainly it.
So you mentioned the Chamonix task force that you sat on back for that housing project. How else have you been politically active in the town? Have you participated in any of the facilitated discussions like Vail Tomorrow, Vail 2020, or the stewardship plan, and if not that, any others? Have you been on a town board?
No, I was on the committee for the West Vail Master Plan, and was very active in in that. And so the master plan finally was adopted, and then now they're rezoning West Vail, and I was very involved in getting people to go to the PEC meetings to get the West Vail zoning done. And the PEC came up with a wonderful plan after 6 months of public input and a lot of input from the West Vail homeowners. And then town council decided that they wanted to start over again. So those are the two main things have been involved with.
What do you think should be the big takeaway from the West Vail Master Plan?
You need to get the stakeholders involved. That there wasn't anyone that owned property in West Vail Mall area that even put any input whatsoever into the West Vail Master Plan. So nothing's going to get done without the biggest landowners, stakeholders there. There were very few people that actually lived in West Vail that were on the committee for the West Vail Master Plan, and that's the biggest takeaway. They need to have more involvement with the stakeholders to actually implement anything that they came up with. You have to have a sign-in, with the actual owners of the property.
When did you move to Vail?
Well, I bought my first home
I think you answered this, but
I bought my first home in 1996, and then I retired and moved up here permanently full-time in 2014.
What neighborhood did you first move into, and then?
And still own, right across from the Chamonix townhomes there, right behind the fire station there in Chamonix Lane.
Nice. Do you own any investment property in Vail?
Yes.
Do you short-term rent, long-term rent? What do you do with those?
There are all currently long-term rentals there. I have done.
And when you say long-term rentals, to me, you need to differentiate between people living full-time or seasonal rentals to someone from out of town.
Right now, they're all local employees.
Great. What issue in Vail gets your blood boiling? And what do you do about it?
The difference between employee housing and affordable housing. That's what really is.
What does that mean?
Well, you can get Altus Vail is a perfect example. I mean, a 400 square foot place for $3,500 a month, that's not affordable housing. It might have an employee housing deed restriction on it, but it's certainly not affordable housing. And when I was on the committee for the Chamonix parcel, I kept hammering that in. I said, it needs to be affordable. And the land was donated. If you can't make that affordable, you need government involvement to have affordable housing, to think the private sector is going to be able to build something at today's construction cost and make it affordable is just not realistic.
The opposite of blood boiling, what do you do to have fun in town?
Well, I'm a part-time ski instructor. I came here to ski. I got in 88 days last year.
Nice.
I've skied over 100 days a year many times. And biking, what everyone does. The biking, the hiking, enjoying the great outdoors is just, it's just so enjoyable, It's
One of the issues that keeps coming up are short-term rental regulations, and that's usually brought up in the context of housing, which you've talked about a little bit. Expand a little bit on what you're thinking of the current short-term rental regulations and what you might change.
The current ones, I think, are doing well. What the town really needs to do, in my opinion, is we need to find out what we have for long-term rentals. We were also focused on short-term rentals. Well, who's out there doing long-term rentals? What can we do to improve that? We need to know what the stock is out there. So many people, a lot of the short-term rentals are second homeowners that are here 2-3 months out of the year, and for a little extra income, they might short-term their place. So those places really would never be a long-term rental. So to think that the short-term rentals are taking up all the employee housing, sure, that's what we need to know. We need to know how many people could actually long-term rent those, and they're using it for short-term rentals, and focus on that rather than focus on the people that have second homes that would never, if they abolish short-term rentals, they just wouldn't rent them. They're just never going to be long-term rentals. So we need to focus on the long-term rental portion, offer them free home inspections, offer them money so we can get a count of exactly how many people are doing long-term rentals, know what we have so we know what we have to work with, and so we can increase that.
Okay. We are winding down our 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So give you one more opportunity for you to have the last word, to talk directly to the voters and tell them why they should vote for you.
Well, another thing that kind of ties in with the housing issue is mental health. I mean, having a place to live is something people worry about every day. It's an important part of your life, and we could use a little bit more access to available mental health resources. The drug addiction and alcoholism, it goes hand in hand with being depressed. Prima Vail, I think, does a really good job of trying to get kids out to interact. With so many kids staying home. I mean, they've got the beautiful outdoors in here. I know kids are at home watching or playing video games when they should be out riding bike or enjoying the great outdoors, and that's what I'd like to improve upon.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you
Mark.
So much for throwing your hat in the ring and stepping up, and for what you've done in the past and what you're going to possibly do in the future.